Oh, good morning. Well, good morning for me here in Spain. It is afternoon, evening with Jo, who's over in Sydney,
Evening from,
Australia.
yeah, good evening
Uh,
from me.
and thank you so much, Jo, for joining us this morning. Today. So we've got Jo Gakonga, and I've said in the kind of blurb that she's a bit of a video production guru. You may have seen some of her videos in the past. If you've ever taken a CELTA, she has a fabulous, or she has fabulous resources with lots of hints and tips through her years of experience as a CELTA assessor. And now she's really focusing on video production and how that can help educators. So, Jo, thank you very much for coming along today.
You're really, really welcome. Lovely to be here.
So I guess, first of all, how did you really get started in video production?
Yeah, well, it started way back in about 2010. I did an MA. I'd already been teaching for quite a long time by then. I'm really old, and I always say to people, and I kind of expect people to go, no, of course you're not, but actually I really am. Anyway. So I started in 2010. I took an MA at Warwick University, and really just I've been teaching already by that time for 20 years, a long time. But I wanted to do the MA because I just was kind of hungry for a bit more development, and I wanted to do something different. And so I got to do this MA at Warwick University, and Russell Stannard was doing a course on IT. And it hadn't, in honesty, it really hadn't been something that I was interested in or thought much about. And but then when I sort of got involved with it, I got really interested, and I did my MA dissertation, not so much on video production, but actually on the idea of a live online course to teach CELTA trainees about grammar nomenclature, because I'm sure, I don't know how you learnt your knowledge of the present perfect continuous, but I learnt it as I was teaching, really, and I think a lot of people are like that. And so when people start doing CELTA, often it's a problem. I don't know what an uncountable noun is. I don't know why articles are difficult. They're just two little words, aren't they? That kind of thing. So I started as part of my not part as my dissertation. I developed an online course to teach people grammar nomenclature. But then what happened was that, like, I ran it as a free course so that, I could get some data, and I got, 120 people signed up for it. And then it was live, and like 4 people would show up live, or maybe 5. And but then people would watch the video. I think it's, you were saying the same thing about this live stream, So then I kind of thought, well, actually what I should do is make recordings, because recordings would be much shorter than just recording what I'd done live. And that just took off, really. And that sort of became a grammar course that I started to sell. And then because I was selling it, I was having to kind of make promotional videos. So then I was making a video every month, and it's kind of escalated from there. So that's where it started, way back in 2012. I launched elttraining.com.
Awesome. And before we get into kind of what you now do for teachers thinking about video production, how do you feel your video production has changed over those years?
Oh, it's really changed. It's so changed. Well, for the first 4 or 5 years, I never showed my face. I just did voiceovers. So I used to make a PowerPoint slide and do voiceovers and talk over it. So if you look, and those videos are still there on YouTube. So if you go back and look at the early ones, you won't see me. And I used to just do them in my pajamas, and I didn't worry about my hair, and so it was much easier. And I didn't want to show myself because I thought, oh, I'm too old, too grey, too wrinkly. And then after a while, I started to think, well, I mean, quite a long while, years, 5, 6 years. I started to think, look, when I was watching YouTube videos, I wanted to know who was talking. And I didn't care what they looked like, but I wanted to know, because it felt like, it was a a funny thing not knowing. There was one woman I used to follow a lot whose name, I'm not sure what her name is, but she calls herself PowerPoint Spice. If you haven't seen her stuff, go on YouTube. She's fantastic for PowerPoint stuff. And she actually also, she shows her face now, but she never used to either. And I was really curious as to what she looked like. It didn't matter. I didn't really care. It didn't matter. I don't care whether she was, tall, short, black, white, thin, fat. Didn't matter. But I just wanted to know. And so that made me think people want to know. So then I started kind of having a little sort of thing of me at the front, at the beginning of the video saying, hi, it's Jo Gakonga, blah, blah, blah. And then nothing. And then maybe at the end, thanks for watching. And then as I've gone on, I've kind of moved more towards me in the frame talking and then adding more animations and annotations and things over the top. So that's the big difference, I suppose. The other thing is that I used to just do PowerPoints and I didn't realize that movement is so crucial. So I think that when you're watching a video, you don't want to be watching a static slide, even a few seconds, 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds of something static starts to be boring. It's got to be moving all the time. So I learned a lot of those kind of lessons just by trial and error, really, and also by watching other people's videos.
Awesome. I like how you talked about kind of having this, little image of you as an intro and an outro. When people create videos, how important is it, do you think, that, or what percentage of the content should be unique and what should be kind of your brand, whether that's your kind of background?
That's a good question. I guess there's an element of wanting to have a sort of a unified feel to the thing, as you say, to sort of be developing a kind of a brand. But on the other hand, if you, and also because if you get new viewers, which obviously you're hoping for, you don't want them to get sort of, 3 minutes in and then go, who is this person anyway? You want to be saying it's ELT training and go to the website, please, ultimately I'm selling something. But for all your regular viewers who see this stuff every time, of course, you don't want it to be too long because they're going, yeah, Jo, we know that you're still a trainer and assessor, and we know that you make videos for trainee teachers. But I guess they can always fast forward past that bit. So I think that the trick is that you've got to engage people. In a classroom, you've got more leeway because they're in the classroom. They're not really going to walk out if they're just slightly bored for 30 seconds. But if someone's slightly bored for 30 seconds on a video, they'll switch it off. They will, for sure. So I guess that's something that's quite different from teaching face to face.
Awesome. We've just had a comment here from Nina saying video is indeed something that can skyrocket the business. It did it for me in the past.
Yeah, definitely. I think because it feels so personal. I mean, a lot of people have said to me over a long period of time now, I felt like I knew you. I felt like you were there actually talking to me and telling me this stuff. And obviously that's not true. Obviously it's, there's a temporal distance there. You're not in the same time and space as someone, but you kind of are there telling them exactly what they need to know, what you think they're going to need to know. I mean, obviously you have to try and anticipate what that is. And clearly it's a one-way street. But I think it does. I certainly feel that way about people that I know from YouTube. I feel like I know them. I feel like I know their personalities. I feel like I know something about them, about the way that they react and the kind of person they are. And so I think that's the reason, is that people, well, hopefully people sort of get to know you and like you and trust you. And and that's the aphorism that people know, people buy from people they know, like and trust.
Excellent. So, I mean, how else do you feel that video can help enhance online courses?
I think you couldn't put an online course together now without video. I think it's expected, actually.
Mhm.
I think you'd be, I can't imagine, I'm sure people do. And it doesn't have to be, the majority even, but I think that the technology is such that it's easy to do. It really isn't hard to do. It takes a bit of learning, but it's not technically difficult. Actually, the more difficult thing is the confidence of sitting in front of your video camera and looking into that lens and believing they're there. But I think that most people who bought an online course of any description, I would expect video. So I just think you wouldn't be able to do it without it.
Mhm, mhm. And I mean, what other things do you think hold people back? Obviously, there's that confidence, the initial, I've got to be showing my face on screen. Is there anything else, maybe technical know-how or?
I think those are the two things, exactly those two things. So one is the confidence, and actually I think that's the biggest one for most people, because they might also say, oh well, I don't know how to do it, or I don't know how to edit, or maybe I haven't got the right equipment. They might say those things, but actually it all comes down to, and I'm going to use those things as an excuse because actually I'm terrified of being there in front of the camera. And I've seen, on the course that I run, say, a course to help people to learn this, and I've seen people who are flamboyant, wonderful, extroverted, outgoing people, and I think, God, they'll be fantastic on video. And then they get in front of the video and they're like, they're sort of rabbits in the headlights at first. Because just like anything you learn to do, you get better as you practice it.
Mhm.
And it is a bit unnerving looking into that camera. And as I say, the trick is really believing there's someone there, because there will be, just not now. And so that's the big one, I think, is the confidence. And then the other thing is technical stuff. People are, I think, aren't sure about how to set things up. You get sort of people where they get things set up so that it's like this, you can see the ceiling and not much of them, or a lighting, and all of those sort of physical setups, but then also things like editing, using an editing suite. When you first look at a professional editing suite like Camtasia or Adobe, whatever, then it looks very foreign, and it looks a bit overwhelming. It isn't overwhelming. It's not that hard once you kind of work it out. But and there are easier things like iMovie or what have you. But I think that sort of thing could put people off too.
And I guess as well, it's not only the kind of the other people are going to see me, but also as you're going through this process of producing your first video and watching yourself,
Yes.
as teachers,
Yeah.
as you say, we often don't like hearing our own voices and doing video observations of ourselves or audio observations of ourselves. And so to be faced with that idea that, right, I've recorded myself and now I have to sit and watch it a number of times in order to create this product.
Yeah, absolutely. So true. And even now, I mean, some days, and it's to do with lighting and things often, some days I'll look back on a video and I think, oh, you look quite good today, Jo. Good hair day. And other days I just think, oh God, you look so old. And but I think, there's two things. One is that you just kind of have to get over it. You do have to just get over it. Oh, sometimes I really hear the Birmingham in my voice too. I mean, I think we only like traces of Birmingham left, but sometimes I really hear it. I don't know why, but sometimes it's just like you think, oh my God. And so yeah, but one, you just have to get over it. You stand in front, and I think it's learning to kind of remember that. For example, you stand in front of your friends and your family and strangers every single day, and you're not walking down the street going, oh God, I'm so whatever,
Yeah.
fat, old, grey, ugly, whatever, you don't think that. And you don't think, oh, I sound so terrible when you speak to people. And it's just the same. It's just that it's not usually reflected back on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do actually find it easier seeing myself in a video than a photograph. I find because photograph takes a snapshot, doesn't it? And it's often you've got a funny face or something. Whereas video, at least it sort of feels more like me.
Mm-hmm.
It is just practice with any of this stuff. The more you do, the easier it gets.
And talking about practice, because when people watch one of your videos, you're obviously it's scripted, but it feels very natural, your delivery. How much do you practice before you get to the recording stage, or do you feel comfortable now that you can do it kind of in a first take?
Well, there's a couple of things there. So the one thing is, as you say, it's scripted. I didn't used to script stuff because I kind of felt that scripting wouldn't be natural. It wouldn't feel like it was, it wouldn't feel like it was natural. But as you go on, you realize if you don't script things, it's so easy to kind of, go around the houses and just keep burbling as I probably am now. And so it really helps to script. People want stuff in a concise form. People get bored very quickly if you're not, to the point. So I think one thing is there's a skill again that you develop as you develop all these skills in writing a script which sounds like speech. And I'll often when I'm writing the script, I'll read it out loud, not just in my head. That's important too. I'll read it out loud to kind of see how it sounds. I don't tend to practice, and then I use a teleprompter. I don't tend to practice very much. I might read it through once before I actually do the take. But the beauty of editing is that it isn't about one take. It's about if you make a mistake, you just shut up for a second and then you say the same thing again and you don't stop. So that was something when I first started, I'd make a mistake and I'd stop and I'd start again. And of course you end up with 30 takes and it's just so frustrating. But the big secret is you just don't stop. You just keep going. So you end up with one long video and then you just cut out the bits that you don't want.
Yeah, that's a really good tip actually, because like you say, you might do that first bit perfectly and then you get to the next paragraph and
and then you make a mistake and then, so then you start again and you make a mistake at the first fence, and then that way madness lies. Definitely. You just need to keep going, but the trick is to keep your face very still, so and to shut up, so that when you edit you can see very easily on the timeline where you've been quiet, where you've made a mistake, and if you keep your face still, then when you cut that bit out you won't see a big jump like this from
much smoother transition. Oh, fabulous. Very good. And thinking, I mean, obviously now there is so much video content, short video content through Reels and TikTok. Do you feel there are big differences in the production aspect, whether it's a longer video or something short?
Yeah, that's a good question. In all honesty, most of the things that I make are now 3 to 5 minutes. They're for YouTube or for Facebook or LinkedIn, and I'm only really kind of, even after all this time, I'm doing a bit on Instagram, and I haven't touched TikTok yet, but that's my next thing to do. That's on my to-do list. And I do think it's different, definitely different. So I've been thinking about how the ideas that I have and things like tips for CELTA, because that's a big part of my business, how that would translate into sort of useful TikTok things. And I think it's much more bite-sized content that perhaps also then brings people into your longer form content. So they see that and they think, oh yeah, that's a useful tip, and then they come into your longer form content, which I think in teacher education probably you do need a bit more time to kind of say something that's useful. But you've got to get them in there. So maybe it's sort of a sprat to catch a mackerel kind of thing. But it's got to be entertaining. And again, I because I haven't really done very much of it, I'm not sure. My delivery tends to be quite measured, and I'm quite calm. And people have said to me, boring before, but I thought, well, you can always put it on ×2 or something if you want to, get through faster. But I think that perhaps I'm going to have to develop a more, in your face style for TikTok. I can see that it's not going to work unless I do that. So yeah, that's another thought.
Yeah, I love watching videos on ×2. I think sometimes when you can watch someone on ×2 and still understand them, I just think, oh, I would love to have your patience with presentation. Yeah, I would probably need to script as I'm the sort of person that just waffles and goes 100 miles.
Yeah, no, you definitely need to script. But as I say, it's interesting that, I mean, for me, I find as well, I'm a really impatient watcher. So I'll either put people on ×2 or I'll skip ahead very often. And so, people do this. Yeah. Anyway.
Talking about the script, we've had a question from Stephanie. Is the teleprompter part of the editing package you use?
No, it's not. I use the teleprompter that I use. I can show you. Is that one there? Can you see teleprompter in the middle? It's called teleprompter for video. It's got a sort of an orange and black icon. I film everything on my phone. So I find that really helpful. That one works, I think, for Android and iPhone, and I've found it particularly helpful. There are many teleprompters that you can use. I haven't used them all, so I can't guarantee that that's the best, but it works well and I like it. So I've been very happy. It wasn't free, but it wasn't very expensive. I think it was about 14 quid or something. It was cheap. Once that records the that can record within the app, and then you just send it to your photos. I actually do something a bit different now. I have, because I don't want to use my front facing camera, I want to use my back facing camera, because the back facing camera is better quality. I actually use my old phone as a front facing camera, so I can see the teleprompter on that strapped to, see, I have the two phones strapped together, one facing forward, one facing backwards.
Fantastic. And I guess another question leading on from the script is, how important do you think captions are? Kind of closed captions.
Sure. Interesting. So what I don't make closed captions within my videos within the editing program. You can, but it's quite painful. It takes a long time, it's a lot of effort, and I'm not entirely sure it's useful. So obviously YouTube will make closed captions for you and you can edit them, and so will Facebook. Instagram used to make fantastic closed captions, but it seems to have stopped. But I think you can do it in other apps. But I haven't, that's something I need to explore further. But it used to do them automatically, or you could do them automatically, and it's great. In terms of what I do think is really helpful and what I do use a lot is to use short bits of text to sort of underline, to emphasize particular parts of the video. So, I tend to film myself like about here, about a third in. So I've got some space here on the screen, and I'll put annotations there, which, highlight and emphasize whatever I'm saying. I think that's helpful.
Awesome. Fantastic. So, I mean, your next course, Voice Video Creation for Educators, that's starting on the 21st of May. Could you tell us a little more about what people can expect to learn on the course?
Sure. So I started Voice. This is my new passion, and I am really enjoying it, because the other courses that are on my site are all standalone courses. You buy them, you use them, you can email me if you've got questions, but people often don't. They just use them and learn from them that way. But Voice is a bit different. It's an 8-week program. It's online. It's a mixture of synchronous and asynchronous learning. So every week there's a new focus every week for editing or for content writing or for lighting, for equipment, developing a confident persona on the camera, that sort of thing. So there's different focus each week. There are online materials with a video, obviously, from me, but also activities to do to help you almost like control practice, to practice those particular skills. And then you make a new video every week. So everybody makes a new, just short one, 1-2 minutes. Everybody makes a new video every week and they post it in a private Facebook group. Only we can see it. So everybody gets to see everybody else's video. And then on a Sunday, we have small groups. So the group might be a dozen people, but the main group, but that's split into smaller groups of just usually 4 people with me for an hour on a Sunday in Zoom. Obviously, I'm doing more than one group, but everybody else is only going to 1 hour. And we take it in turns to show the video, which hopefully everybody will already have seen, but I think it's helpful to kind of remind yourself. Show your video. The person who's made it gets to say what they think about it, what they were happy with, what they'd like to work on. And then the group also discuss it and I give some feedback too. And so, and everybody does it. And it's a fantastic environment for learning. So, you know, I come from a background of having 20 years as a CELTA trainer. And for me, that environment of CELTA where everybody's watching everybody else doing something that's a bit, you know, where you feel a bit vulnerable, where it's a bit difficult, you're not completely at ease, and then talking about it together is so helpful because it makes you focus on your own practice, but also it helps you to focus on practice generally, because everybody who's novice at something is likely to make similar mistakes or, you know, have similar issues. But also you learn from other people. So other people have inspired ideas and you go, oh, that's great. I'm going to have a go at using that in my next lesson in CELTA video in my course. And so having seen how successful that learning environment is for CELTA, that's really what I wanted to replicate in voice. I wanted to have the same sort of thing where people, you know, got comfortable with each other, felt okay about showing themselves and talking openly about what they've done and what they found difficult and what they liked, and felt comfortable about talking to each other about that. And so that's how people learn. And then obviously by the time they've finished, they've made, you know, 8 videos, and also had a chance to really think about what they wanted to use video for. So I just love working with all these people and seeing the development, and you do see real progress over that 2-month period of people's videos. So that's fantastic. But also, you know, when I started this, I thought, I don't just want a program where people come out the end and go, okay, I can make video, so what? I wanted something where people would be able, you know, would come out there and going, yes, I can make video, and yes, I know what I'm going to do with it, and I'm going to do this, that, and the other, and this is where I'm going forward from this point. So there's a strong emphasis on, well, you know, are you going to make an online course that you're going to sell? If you're going to do that, how are you going to promote it? What kind of promotional videos are you going to make? What kind of content marketing do you want to make? If you're going to promote your course, your services as an online teacher, for example, then what content marketing are you going to make in order to continue to make video that you put out on Instagram or TikTok? Are you going to put it out on Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn? Where's your audience? Who are you speaking to? So it's not a business course, because it couldn't be that as well as the video in 8 weeks. It couldn't be. There's just not enough time. And I'm not a business expert, but there's a strong focus on, you know, the so what factor. Where are you going with this? And I think having that 8 weeks of making the videos week by week and making videos that you would use for the purpose that you're stating you're going to use it for means that people have got some time to really think and think about a niche and think about the kind of thing they want to do.
Mm-hmm. And obviously people come, like you say, some people are creating online courses for other teachers. Perhaps they're creating courses for their students. Do you feel there's much difference in terms of the production, depending on the intended audience?
That's a really interesting question. I guess yes or no. I mean, people have done the course, like I've run it, this will be the 5th time. So I've got a number of people, over 50 people now who've done the course. And they've come from a really wide range of, variety, from aviation English, medical English, IELTS, business English, all sorts, English for activists, coaching backgrounds, teaching backgrounds, really a wide range of stuff. I think, to be honest, that the difference in the kind of videos that people make is probably not so much about, I mean, to some extent it's about the audience. If you're going to make videos for children, for, as somebody on the last course did for activities for children, then clearly you've got to have a different kind of personality and different kind of, upbeatness than if you're making aviation videos, when it's probably going to be a bit more serious. But I think also the big factor is just people's personality, the person that you are, as well as the kind of teacher that you are, just as it is in any kind of teaching, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's true in any kind of teaching, is that there's different, and your message will hopefully find people who like the way that you deliver. There's room, I think, there's room for lots of the different people doing IELTS courses. There's room for lots of different people doing aviation English courses, because different people will appreciate different people's approaches.
So, I mean, Nina's echoed what you said before, that people can decide if they like you through your videos and decide if they want to work with you. And yeah, it's a great way to market yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic. Cool. Well, we haven't had any more questions come in yet, but if anybody is watching us on catch up and does have a question, feel free to tag Jo or I and we can get back to you. I know quite a few people in the hub have taken your course. So as well, if you've taken Jo's course, feel free to kind of add a link to one of your videos to kind of show the finished product of what people can take away from the course.
Yeah, it is amazing actually what people, I mean, there's some on the site as well. If you add that, I'm sure there'll be a link to the course below, and there's just some amazing things that people have done as testimonials, or as things that they've done. And it's quite interesting that I think when you start off, you kind of feel that, it must be quite difficult, and then once you get into it, you realize that actually the kind of videos that you're seeing on YouTube that look incredibly professional and really upmarket, you think, actually, I can see how I can do that. You just add a video in here, and you can zoom in on it here, and you can add the text here, and yes, you could make this blurry here like this. So you start to really think, I know how they did that. Or you maybe see a new effect and you think, that's interesting. I can see how you could do that. I'm going to have a go myself. And I think that those things, it is amazing what you can produce. A very, very professional result by just sitting in your living room or your bedroom and then editing it afterwards with the material.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Fabulous. Well, thank you so much, Jo, for taking the time to come and chat to us today. As I've said, if anybody has any questions, pop them in the chat and we'll keep an eye on them. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks, Jo. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye.